Hello and welcome to Mayhem with your host May May.
So my best friend in the whole wide world is the sweetest, kindest, biggest advocate that you could ever have. And she was living in Monterey, California, and she had some neighbors that were not so cool. And they were kind of homophobic. And so, you know what she does? She goes outside to her car and she writes across the back of her window, "Hate is loud, love louder." I love that saying, but the more I think about it, the more I have some questions. So, hate is loud, love louder. This assumes a few things. Mostly being that hate and love are different things, opposites even. And I'm not sure that I agree with that statement. I just got done reading a book, and sometimes, you can read a whole book and it's just one sentence that you take with you. And at the end of the book, he was kind of finishing it up, and he was talking about how you really can't hate something if you understand it. And this kind of rang some bells with me. So I was thinking about the opposite of love and the opposite of hate, and I think I came up to a conclusion. Because I'm not sure that love and hate are different things. They're both born of passion. They're both vehement feelings. They're both really strong, burning desires within you. And I'm not sure that they're that different. And how can two things that are not that different be opposites? So I think the opposite of love is not hate. I think that it is indifference. Because when you don't care about something, you just don't care if it's there. You don't care if it's not there. It's just whatever. That just doesn't scream very much to me about love. It's just, I feel like that's the opposite of love. And then the opposite of hate is understanding. Because if you really understand something, and if you're really empathetic and you really try to get into that mindset, how can you hate it still? I've always told my kids, they cuss. My 12-year-old and my 14-year-old cuss like sailors sometimes. And I'm okay with it. But there is one word in God's green earth that I do not want them to say. That it bothers me when they say it. Because for me, it brings up feelings of stereotypes. It brings up feelings of judgments. And that word is hate. I do not like my kids to say that word. That is my naughtiest word that they can say. And with some of the feelings and some of the thoughts that I've been having recently, I'm not so sure that this is still the same way I feel. Because hate is just passion. You feel very passionate. You feel very vehement about something. And if I hate something, I want to understand it. And I want that to be my first instinct rather than anger and frustration. I want to take a moment and understand it. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. So that's just where my thoughts were at this week, especially because I just finished that book. And the funny thing is, the book is not what I want to talk about tonight. The book I want to talk about, I wrote this list on Monday. I wrote what I wanted to talk about. I wrote my whole outline that I normally do on Monday. And the book that I decided I wanted to talk about this week is called Flight of the Silvers by Daniel Price. I love this book, and this book really reflects hate for me because they are 6 people from Earth who have been literally hand-picked, chosen to survive the apocalypse of this Earth. And they end up going to another Earth. And they are saved by bracelets of silver. And so when they get to this other Earth, they are called silvers. And kind of the gist of the kind of the crux of the books is they're outsiders. They don't understand this world. Things, cars are flying, restaurants are floating. It's kind of a futuristic, different kind of world, and they don't understand it. And they stand out like a sore thumb. And there is a lot of opportunity for a lot of different feelings towards them. People hate what they don't understand, and they don't take the time to understand what they hate. So I chose Flight of the Silvers because I thought that this book really represented a group that it would be really easy to hate, because it would be really easy not to understand them. Because if you meet somebody on the street and they say, hey, I'm not from this world, are you going to believe them? Are you going to take the time to sit down and listen to their story? And I just think it's a beautifully written story. He wrote the first one and I devoured it. Then I had to wait for 2 years for him to write the second one. And he wrote the second one 2 years ago. And then today I get home. So mind you, I wrote this on Monday. Today I get home and I'm looking through my phone because I look his name up on Amazon every so often to find out when he's releasing this damn third book. And I found out that he's going to release it in August. And I just found out today. So I'm super excited to read the last book of the series because the series is phenomenal. The series will suck you in. It's super long books, but it doesn't feel very long. And I devoured them. I read the second book in 2 days. So the first book is called Flight of the Silvers. The second book is called Song of the Orphans. And the third book is called The War of the Givens. And so that's my my talk for today. I think the moral of this week is that if you have a problem, if you're leaning towards hate, lean in towards that hate. Try to understand it. Try to get all that you can from it. And then maybe you will grow, and maybe you won't hate things so much. I try to do this as much as I can. I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better. So, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate the time, and hate is loud, love louder. Have a good one.